I never thought I'd be betrayed by my own mother. Of all the people in this world, the woman who gave birth to me was the one who turned her back on me the most. And the worst part, she did it with a smile, like it was the most natural thing in the world. It happened just a few months ago. I had just finished building her a brand new house, paid for every brick with my own money. I thought it was a gift, a way to say, "Thanks for everything, Mom." But it turns out I was just laying the foundation for my own humiliation. It was a Saturday morning. The air smelled like fresh pine and hope. I had driven over to her new place to help her move in boxed up memories, old photo albums, the same threadbare recliner she refused to part with. I remember standing in that kitchen I designed, light pouring in through the windows I personally chose. I was hooking up the gas line when I noticed a stack of papers sitting on the counter, legal documents. One had bold letters, transfer of deed. I froze. At first, I thought it was the final step in the mortgage paperwork. Then I saw it. In black and white, Claire Thomas to Linda Thomas, now granted to Rachel Thomas as sole beneficiary. I blinked. Once, twice. The words didn't change. My heart did. I had paid for that house. Me. Every single check. And yet my name was nowhere. Instead, it had been handed off to my sister Rachel. My sister, who hasn't worked a full-time job in 8 years. My sister, who still asks Mom for gas money. My sister, who I used to cover rent for when she got evicted twice. The air in that kitchen turned sour. I picked up the papers, walked into the living room where my mother and Rachel were folding towels. "Is this a mistake?" I asked. My voice wasn't loud, but it was heavy. Mom didn't flinch. "No." "Honey," she said, "Rachel needs more help. You're doing fine on your own." I felt like the floor cracked beneath me, like I was falling while still standing. "You're giving her everything," I said. "Everything I worked for." Mom gave that little laugh, the one that always felt like a pat on the head. "Claire, you don't need anything. You have your job, your house, your savings." "Rachel, she struggles." Rachel didn't say a word, just kept folding, eyes averted, like maybe if she didn't speak, she wouldn't have to own any of it. And that's when I realized I wasn't their daughter. I was their lifeline, a walking bank account, a safety net, a backup plan, but never a priority. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't throw the papers. I just said, "Okay." And I walked out. They thought I'd come back. They thought I'd apologize. They thought I'd keep giving, even after they made it clear I was disposable. But they forgot one thing: I wasn't done yet. This isn't just a story. It's a reckoning. Stay till the end and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The silence after that day was louder than any argument we could have had. For 2 weeks, I didn't call. I didn't text. I didn't stop by. And more importantly, I didn't send money. It didn't take long for the shift to happen. The first message came from Mom. Just a simple, "Hope you're doing okay. Love you. Innocent enough." But I knew what it really was, a soft tap on the door before the storm. Then came the second message. "Sweetheart, the water heater isn't working. Any chance you can swing by this weekend? Right? Because I'm still the family handyman, even after they gave away the house I built." I didn't respond. 3 days later, Rachel reached out. "Hey, Mom's been really stressed. Can you just talk to her? I think she misses you." No apology. No mention of what happened. Just that I should return to my role as the ever-reliable daughter. But the moment that really burned, it was a bank transfer request. $2,800, sent from Mom's account. No note. No please. No explanation. Just a raw request, like I was her payroll department. I declined it without hesitation. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. Then the texts started pouring in. Claire, I don't understand why you're being like this. Claire, we're family. Claire, your sister's car broke down and we need help. No one once said, I'm sorry. They weren't confused. They weren't heartbroken. They were inconvenienced. They were mad because the person they depended on finally said no, and that no was just the beginning. The next week, I got a call from my office front desk. Ms. Thomas, your mother and sister are here. They say it's an emergency. I nearly dropped my coffee. They're here, I asked. Yes, and they're being kind of firm about seeing you. I took a breath so deep it felt like my ribs might snap. This wasn't concern, this wasn't love, this was pressure. This was cornering. I told the receptionist, please tell them I'm not available. They'll have to leave. There was a pause. Then are you sure I've never been more sure? I hung up, my heart pounding. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Rachel, we're downstairs. Open the door. No hello. No, are you okay? Just another order. I stared at the screen, then typed the only thing that felt right. No. She replied instantly. We're not leaving until you talk to us. Of course they weren't. This wasn't about love. It was about leverage. I slipped off my heels, grabbed my jacket, and made my way to the front of the building. And there they were, standing on the sidewalk like they were staging an intervention. Mom had her arms crossed, her lips tight. Rachel was scrolling on her phone, pretending to be unbothered. When Mom saw me, she lit up like she was the victim finally being heard. Claire, finally. We need to talk. I stepped outside, calm and clear. No, you need to leave. She blinked, genuinely stunned. Excuse me. You heard me? Her mouth opened, then closed. She wasn't used to this version of me. Not the Claire who smiled through the insults, not the Claire who paid the bills quietly, not the Claire who bent until she broke. You don't get to just show up at my job demanding things, I said. This isn't love. This is harassment. Mom scoffed. So you're really going to let us struggle over something so petty? I let out a soft laugh. Petty. You mean rewriting a will to erase your own daughter. That kind of petty. Rachel finally looked up. Claire, stop. This isn't helping anyone. I turned to her. No, Rachel, you stop. You've had a free ride your entire life, and I'm the one who paid for it. Rachel stepped back, eyes wide. She wasn't used to me raising my voice. I faced them both. You made your choice. Now you get to live with it. I turned, walked back into the building, and didn't look back. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight but my own. That night, the silence was eerie but not unexpected. No more texts. No more calls. No more transfer requests. They had tried guilt. They had tried showing up. Now, they were trying silence as if I'd come crawling back once the air cleared. But I wasn't that Claire anymore. Still, a part of me waited. Not because I wanted them back in my life, but because I wanted to see just how far they'd go to hold on to the control they once had. It didn't take long. 3 days later, I logged into Facebook, and there it was. A post from my mother, front and center. It's heartbreaking when the child you raised turns her back on you in your time of need. We give everything, and in return, we're left alone. Dozens of comments underneath, old neighbors, distant cousins, church friends. You deserve better. Linda. Some kids just forget who raised them. Praying for you. I felt my stomach twist, not with guilt, but with disbelief. She was painting herself as the victim. Again. Then came Rachel's post. Subtle, but cutting. Some people love you when you're useful, but when you finally need them, they vanish. Guess that says more about them than you. The hypocrisy made my skin crawl. Useful, I was the one who paid her tuition, who bailed her out when she overdrew her account, who loaned her money when her car got repossessed and never saw a dime back. I wasn't useful, I was used. Still, I said nothing. I didn't comment, I didn't message, I didn't defend myself. I let the words sit there, rotting in their own performative pity. But the tipping point came a few days later. One of my mother's friends, someone I hadn't spoken to in over a decade, sent me a private message. "Claire, I'm shocked at what your mom's going through. She says you left her with nothing, that the house isn't paid off, that Rachel's been scrambling to find work and keep things together. Is everything okay?" That's when I knew they weren't just twisting the story. They were rewriting it completely. According to them, I had abandoned them, cut them off for no reason, left them helpless in a time of crisis. But here's the truth, they weren't helpless. They were entitled. They just couldn't imagine a version of life where I wasn't their backup plan. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I posted my own message. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cruel. It was honest. I've been quiet because I needed peace. But after seeing so much misinformation, I think it's time for clarity. For 15 years, I supported my family, financially paid bills, built a house, and gave without asking. But when I discovered that the home I built was signed over to someone else, without my name or my knowledge, I realized I was no longer family, I was a resource. I'm no longer willing to be treated like an afterthought. This is not about resentment, it's about respect. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask, but I will not be shamed for choosing boundaries. Not anymore. I hit post and stepped away from my phone. It buzzed for hours. Comments, messages, some supportive, some shocked, a few predictably angry, but it didn't matter. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a voice, and I wasn't using it to defend myself. I was using it to reclaim myself. I didn't expect what happened next. I thought posting the truth would quiet everything down, let people see both sides, maybe even give Mom and Rachel a moment of self-reflection. But instead, it lit a fire. That same night, my phone rang nonstop. Not just from my mother and sister who I'd already blocked, but from distant relatives, old family friends, even a few of Mom's church ladies. Some came with guilt. "Claire, this is your mother we're talking about. Family isn't perfect, but it's still family. You're better than this. Honey." Others came with judgment. "Maybe you should have handled it privately. Why air dirty laundry online? She's old. Let her have peace." Let her have peace. Where was that peace when I was working 2 jobs in my 20s just to keep her electricity on? Where was that peace when Rachel spent my money like it grew on trees and Mom defended her every time? And then there were the private messages, the quiet ones, the ones that really mattered, from people I hadn't talked to in years. An old cousin wrote, "I saw your post, and I just want you to know I get it. I've been there. It's not selfish to walk away from what breaks you." Even an ex-coworker messaged thank you for saying what so many of us are too scared to say out loud. Sometimes the most toxic people in our lives share our blood. It hit me then. This wasn't just my story. This was a pattern. So many of us are raised to believe we owe everything to the people who raised us no matter what. That love means sacrifice. That silence is noble. That anger is ungrateful. But there comes a point when giving turns into erasing yourself. And I had reached that point years ago. I just didn't know it until now. Still, even as messages poured in, part of me wondered what would happen next. Would they let it go? Would they spin a new story? The answer came 2 days later, in the form of a letter, not an email, not a text, an actual handwritten letter, left at my apartment door in a familiar floral envelope. It was from Mom. I stood there for a while, just staring at it. That handwriting, the same loops and curls that used to sign my birthday cards, now felt like a foreign language. I opened it. The first line, Claire. I don't know who you've become. Of course. The next few paragraphs were exactly what I expected. Passive-aggressive apologies, backhanded comments, claims of misunderstanding, accusations wrapped in sorrowful tones. We only did what we thought was best. Rachel needs more help than you. You've always been the strong one. And then the closer you'll regret cutting off your family. When we're gone, you'll feel the weight of this. Think about that. I folded the letter once, twice. Then I dropped it in the trash because I had thought about it. I had thought about it every time I bailed them out. Every time I swallowed pain just to keep the peace. Every time I gave and gave and gave and got nothing but silence or obligation in return. I didn't regret walking away. I regretted not doing it sooner. I wish I could say that after the letter, everything stopped, that they finally got it, that they let me go and moved on. But that's not how people like that work. A week after the letter, I got a call from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. But the message played in full. It was Rachel. Her voice was tight, clipped, full of forced calm. Claire, we're listing the house. Mom says it's your fault. She's telling people you forced her out. I tried to defend you, but she won't listen. She's telling everyone you abandoned her. Thought you should know. And then silence. No, I'm sorry. No, thank you for everything. Just one last jab to make sure the knife stayed in. I sat there in my living room quiet, calm, more exhausted than angry. That house, the one I paid for, designed, oversaw from the first nail to the final coat of paint, it was going up for sale. And none of that surprised me, because people like Mom don't value effort. They value control. And when they lose control, they burn the whole thing down and tell everyone you lit the match. But here's the thing. I didn't need that house. What I needed was peace. And for the first time in my adult life, I finally had it. I wasn't waking up to urgent texts asking for money. I wasn't balancing my own bills against someone else's mistakes. I wasn't being guilted, manipulated, or used. I was just me. And slowly, I began to rebuild not a house, but a life. I redecorated my apartment, started cooking again real meals, not microwave dinners between frantic phone calls. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years because I was always too busy with family. I even took a solo trip to Colorado, just me, a rented Jeep, and the open road. And somewhere between the mountain air and the silence, I realized something. I didn't hate them. I didn't wish them harm. But I did wish they'd done better. And I finally accepted that it wasn't my job to fix what they broke. It wasn't my job to carry the weight of their mistakes or patch over their regrets. It was my job to live, fully, freely, without fear. If you've made it this far, maybe you understand what I mean. Maybe you've been there too, playing the strong one, the provider, the fixer, until you break. If you have, I see you. And you're not alone. It's not selfish to choose yourself. It's survival. So no, I don't regret cutting them off. I regret waiting so long to realize I deserved more. And now I'm not just surviving. I'm finally living. For many viewers in our generation, this story hits closer to home than we care to admit. We've been taught that family comes first, no matter the cost. We've stayed silent through disrespect, carried burdens we never created, and made sacrifices that were never acknowledged. But Claire's story is a powerful reminder. Love without boundaries isn't love, it's servitude. There comes a time in every adult's life when they must make peace with the difference between loyalty and self-destruction. Claire didn't walk away because she didn't care. She walked away because she cared for herself, perhaps for the first time in decades. And in doing so, she taught us a lesson so many need to hear: it's okay to choose peace. It's okay to demand respect. And it's more than okay to stop being the family's safety net when they never offered you one in return. To those of you listening who've spent years being the strong one, this story is for you. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and if this reminded you of anyone in your life. And remember, sometimes walking away is how we find our way home.